Welcome back to the Sibyl podcast. If this is your first time, pull up a chair and stay a while. Now, if you've been rocking with us, you already know how we do things around here. So, this season, we're sitting with something that has been on my heart for a while now. Marriages are falling apart quietly all around us, and I mean quietly, not always with shouting matches or the dramatic exits like you see on Instagram. Sometimes it's just two people who've stopped trying, sleeping in the same bed, living in completely different worlds. We've been watching this happen across cultures, across faiths, across generations, and honestly, we couldn't stay quiet about it anymore. So, we're starting something new. We're calling it Marriage, Divorce, and Everything Between. A candid look at love in all its stages, before, during, and after. Now, over the next few weeks, we're having the kind of conversations most people only have behind closed doors. Like what actually happens when a husband and wife quietly give up on each other? Why hasn't faith alone been enough to hold so many Christian marriages together? And how does a marriage make it past 50 years and still feel alive? And what does real healing look like after divorce? The kind that doesn't come with a neat little bow. Some of these episodes will be hard to sit with. I can understand that. Some might even shift how you see your own relationship. And a few might make you laugh in that way that only happens when someone says exactly what you've been thinking. Oh, and we have questions from some of you in this episode too, so thank you. You asked, our guest answered. So yes, you are a part of this conversation. So whether you're single, dating, engaged, married, separated, or somewhere in between that you don't quite have a name for yet, this series is for you. My siblings, get your tea ready, and now enjoy the show. Let's talk. All right. Welcome back to the Sibyl podcast. Welcome to season 9 of the Sibyl podcast. So this is such an unusual thing for me to do. I have been doing this podcast now for the past 8 years and 9 seasons long. Before we get into this episode, I need to be transparent with you about something because that's what we do here. Now, this episode had a technical failure. Midway through our recording with Temi, our AI note taker dropped out of the session and took the recording with it just like that. The first 20 minutes of our conversation was gone. And I want to be honest, this is the second time it happened to us. And I'm frustrated because the conversations we have in this space deserves better than that. You deserve better than that. Our guests deserve better than that. So here's what we did. Rather than scrap the episode or pretend it didn't happen, we made the decision to reconstruct the missing episode using the full transcript from the first half of our conversations as our guide. Now, my assistant, who is in the studio with me today, will read Temi's words back in her voice from her own transcript, while I will respond as I would have in the moment. Now, it's not perfect, but it's every word of Temi's, right? Every word you will hear from Temi in this first section of the episode came directly from what she said. We did not invent anything. We simply gave her words back their voice. So I'm also making changes behind the scenes to make sure this never happens again. Local backups, no more relying on a single point of failure. And to Temi, thank you for trusting us with your story. We're going to honor it the way it deserves. And to you, our listeners, thank you for your grace. Now, let's get into it because this one is worth it. All right, Ife, are you ready?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Now, welcome back to the episode of the podcast. This is Mo, and for those that are just joining us for the first time, welcome. Now, every once in a while you're strolling through the Instagram street, something stops you, and you're like, whoever's on this other side of the screen has clearly decided that they're done pretending, and that's exactly what's happened with today's guest. We found her profile, and something about the way she was carrying her story. I mean, the audacity of it all. The quiet intentionality underneath all of it. We knew that you, our audience, needed to hear from her. And so what did we do? We slid into her DMs. We made our case. And guess what? She said yes. And here's what you need to know about today's guest. We'll get into it. At 38, she made the decision that most people only talk about in the Notes app on their phone. And maybe 2 a.m. in the morning. She walked away from her life in the US, her job, her marriage, the whole scaffolding of her life that she had built. And she moved to Southeast Asia. Not for a man, not even for a job offer, but for herself. As a Nigerian adult taking a gap year, not the one, Jam gave her, like she took herself out of a group chat and made it across Asia. Now, she did that as a conscious, deliberate act of choosing herself, her own life, over the life that had been chosen for her. Now, 1/3 of people take gap years when they're over 30. Studies have shown that. But most of them don't do it in the aftermath of divorce. Most of them don't do it as Nigerian women who, there's a cultural weight of doing that. For example, divorce can feel heavier than anything you pack in your suitcase. But today's guest did it. So today's conversation covers a lot of grounds, what it actually takes to rebuild yourself in a strange foreign country. Not Ghana, not somewhere close to Nigeria, a country where they don't even know you yet. And what does it take to have that discipline of building a life that is genuinely yours? And how does self-love go beyond the aesthetics of it? What does it mean to choose travel? Not as a form of escape, but as an excavation. So it's a full episode today. And if you're like me, you probably want to listen to it twice. And so keep staying with us, guys. But welcome to season 9 of the Sibyl podcast. And please join me in welcoming today's guest, Miss Temi Oseni, to the podcast. Hello, Temi.
Wow. Well, I couldn't have said any of that better than you did. So thank you so much for having me here. It's such a pleasure, and I think a privilege to be part of this conversation today.
Thank you so much. And special shout out to my sister Efe for not giving up. She was like, "Oh no, we need to bring her." I'm like, "Yeah, but she's always trying." Like, "Yes, she will respond. Let's keep trying." So I kept going. We kept going, and thank you so much. So thank you to Efe for doing this. You've been doing so much, work on your life, and even just going into your Instagram, you can always tell that you have a lot of passion for this, right? It's your POV, and I think there's a fine art to that. So kudos to you, and thanks for all of what you've done. And before we get into some of the stories we've been privy to see on your Instagram page, can you take us to the very beginning? Like, where did you grow up, and what was the world like for you before? And what would you tell us that you're supposed to become?
Okay, so that's a very good question. And yeah, shout out to Ife. She did follow up a ton because every time I'm traveling, I don't want to be on my phone responding to emails. So she always had to, catch me when I'm in Vietnam, which is my home base. Yeah, so it's a great question. I think I grew up in Nigeria, like you said in your introduction. I'm 39. I'm now 39. I was 39 a couple of weeks ago.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. Thank you. So I was in Nigeria until I was 31, and I had a really good upbringing. I feel like I was very sheltered, which is good. But even within the confines of being very sheltered, I still have your typical Nigerian mother. I'm the first girl, so expectations of taking care of your siblings, showing up in a certain way. I finished with the first class, so you can...
Wow.
For someone to finish with the first class, it's certain life that you, there's a certain life you have to live to be able to do that. Yeah. So I was the first girl to finish with the first class in like 20 years in my department, University of Lagos. So I have some of these accolades, under my belt, but it didn't come because, and I don't want to say I didn't desire it, but it was an expectation. The first class came because I had studied medicine in Ibrinidion, and I failed at that. I failed because I said I wasn't going to do it anymore. So I was a failure to everyone around me, and to make up for that failure, I went to University of Lagos, studied business administration, and I told myself that if I have to make up for that failure, I told myself that I have to make up for that failure. So I knew I was going to make it first class. So having that kind of mindset, that kind of pressure that I had to go through. I did have fun, don't get me wrong. I lived a full life, and I had all the fun I wanted to have. But there was just that pressure to be a certain person, to be a certain way. And I didn't realize up until like a few years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, that I call myself a recovering perfectionist. And my entire life being the first girl, having all these expectations, what happened was that I became a perfectionist. And the downside of being a perfectionist is it's not possible to be perfect. So it's just an illusion, and I've just kind of lived my life that entire the way of trying to be a perfectionist. And because you can never be perfect, the downside of that again is that I would always beat myself up. So I give you all that background to say that led me here, because I realized I was living my life for other people and I wasn't living my life for myself. So I wanted to always be the best, always show up in a certain way, which I did, but it came at the detriment of my mental health. So let me stop here.
Oh, wow. There's so much to unpack. How dare you just drop that hot potato and say, let me stop here? Your Majesty. First of all, congrats on everything. Your first class, all of your achievements. I can't even imagine what it was like going from Nigerian and studying medicine to being a, I mean, those are two great institutions by their rights, right? But even the term failure, that must have been quite difficult. I mean, being the first girl, so I can't even imagine with your type A, can do it, perfectionism tendencies. There's an expectation for a first female child to do all of that. But kudos to you for not letting that define you, for seizing the narrative and doing all of that. Yeah. And, oh my God, clock it, man. All of your achievement, clock it. There's so much to tease out there, but I just want to say, thanks for sharing that. But I think let's define some things. What part of Lagos did you grow up in?
So my family composition is actually, I have a blended family. Mom and dad have three kids together. They got divorced and then they both had 2 kids with their new partners.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, so there's 7 of us, I think. Sometimes I forget the number. Yeah, 7 of us.
Okay.
7. Yeah. Okay, so I'm the first girl from both my mom and dad, but I have a younger sister from my mom's side. Well, we are so close. I don't even think of her as my stepsister at all. Like, she's my sister. Yeah, I grew up in Bagada, so we were there for a while, but I think when I turned 17, my parents got their first home in Magodo. So between 17 and when I go home right now, I go to Magodo. That's where my family lives.
Okay. Wow. Thanks for sharing all that, and also for making those clarifications, right? I guess my next question with this was, you said something that I want to come back to a little bit, right? When you said you realized you're living your life for other people, not for yourself, and that it came at the detriment of your mental health.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And I see that many of us are still at that crossroad. And I guess for me, asking you will be this: when did that realization hit you, and what did you do with it when it did?
Okay. I knew we were going to ask this question. So, and as I asked myself, am I going to share the entirety of it, or am I just going to give you what?
Whatever you're comfortable with. Again, you're coming back on the podcast so that I see in a master class on taking a gap here because we need a play group. So, Mr. Shane, we do. Show us your work. Carry over the 2 and multiply the 3. We need to see that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I'll be honored. I'll be absolutely honored.
Yeah. Okay. If all over, okay, remember.
Okay. So, she's in Gen Z, right?
She's a Gen Z, yeah. My goodness, they keep pushing me to do all kinds of stuff, but I love them. They're so wonderful. Shout out to my VAs, by the way.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I can tell you that it happened at a particular time in my life, and this was 4 years ago, almost to the day. It was May 2022. This point, I had gotten married, and I had gotten divorced. I had moved. I think I had lived in 4 to 5 different cities in the US. I was just I was constantly on the go, and my divorce happened during COVID, when the world was going to shit. And I had an extra layer of shit happening in my life. Okay.
I mean, where would you go when you're divorcing during COVID? Where would you go? The basement? What do you
do? Girl, yeah. So this was happening, thankfully we had 2 rooms. So we were living like roommates,
Wow.
Yeah. So all of this was happening. So I moved. Let me take a step back for a quick second. I moved to the
Okay.
US in 2018,
Okay.
and I moved with my now ex-husband. So the plan was to build a life together. I was already 31 at this point, so I wasn't a baby, right? I married my best friend. I thought I was marrying my, we used to be very good friends. We just weren't good partners. So that was 2018. We think that it's falling apart like 6 months after, but we held on. We thought it was falling apart like 6 months after, but we held on. Oh, I held on for my dear life because I'm like, I will not fail as married. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I can't imagine what you went through, because you talked about knowing this person for 12 years. And so it's not just losing the friend, the marriage, but also the friendship and also the family, right?
Yes. I was like, I waited this long. Could I have gotten this wrong? I held on for my dear life. Well, 2020, this was just, we were like, this is not working. So I think during that period, the whole world was going to shit, right? And I have friends I was talking to, but everybody was going through one thing or the other. COVID was a whole lot. It made us all go through some mental health issues in some form or the other. But I had that extra layer of going through a divorce. And then I lived in Connecticut at the time. So I was just like, this place is killing me. So I moved. I got a new job in New Jersey, and I was in New Jersey for a little bit, and like I was starting to find myself again. I'm very big on community, so still finding community, still finding hobbies. And I ended up working with this Indian woman. Now in retrospect, I would never give any that kind of power over my life again. But this Indian woman was such a terrible boss that because I hadn't allowed myself to heal from everything that was happening, I can just just moving on. So she made everything worse. Like I was in a very toxic work environment. I was the only Black person at the job. The job itself wasn't really bad. But what I later found out was that, I don't want to say too much, I don't want to disparage another culture, but apparently they don't like Africans. I didn't even realize that because, I'm very open-minded. I love people, so I don't, when we talk about racism, and I still feel
like a part of you still doesn't believe that all Indians are that way, but your experience with that person really, made you really not have a good, time.
Yeah. So it was so bad. She made my life a living hell.
I'm so sorry.
There was a day when you can't account for like 6 hours in the day, I just blanked out. My mind when I came to, I was like, wait, what have I been doing for the last 6 hours? I could not account for the time. That was when I knew something was wrong. And so to cut the long story short, I had to take a mental health break. I didn't even know what that was, to be honest. I had been talking to a therapist when this was going on. Like, we started putting things together so I could kind of report this person and put steps in place so that I could protect myself at work. Yeah. And I'm just like, I can't do this again. I'm quitting. And my therapist says to me, you have options. You don't have to quit. Because if you quit, that means you don't have health care. You don't have a job. Yeah. Don't have income. I'm like, I have savings. I'll be fine. She's like, no, you have options. Wow. So she's like, you can actually take like a mental health break. I'm a Nigerian.
I mean, yeah, what does that mean?
Exactly.
I mean, use Korean speaking for me because I don't understand the English anymore. Say what? I mean, what is a mental health break?
Exactly. So I'm like, what is a mental health break? And I don't know what that is. I was in America at this time. So
yeah. Is the therapist from the UK,
yes.
by the way?
No, she's in the US.
Wow.
Yeah, so apparently you can take 3 months for your mental health.
Wow. Is it paid?
Yes, girl, it's paid.
Is it for government workers? I'm asking like what?
No, so it's part of your benefits as an employee in the US. I think most jobs have it. I can only speak for my job, but most corporate jobs through your insurance, you can take what is called short-term disability.
Oh yeah, 3 months. Yeah. 3 months, 90 days. Yeah. I used to think that it's for if you break your leg or you have a fracture at work or something like that, right?
Wow. Exactly. So it's not just for pregnant women. You also opt into that. Yeah. Wow. So you opt into that,
and then you have to get it. Yeah. Sign it off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. So, but the thing is, what we don't realize, and what I hope someone listening to this realizes, is that it's not just physical health; it's also your mental health.
I think for me, when I think of like physical health, like when you break your leg, that's part I didn't know. Thanks for making it clear. And I think, thank you. Yeah.
So that is the education that we don't have. I didn't have that at the time because I was just going to quit.
Wow.
Yeah. And she's like, you can go on a short-term disability for your mental health. And she had said that I had to. Well, there's an upside. Some people might see it as a downside, but for me, it was an upside. And that's what led me here today. I went into something called intensive therapy. So for 5 days a week, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., I'm with a group of other people dealing with mental health issues, and we were talking about our feelings.
Wow. I can't in like once a month, an hour long, that's it.
Wow. Yeah, so she said it to me and I'm like, wait, what?
Wow. I mean, yeah, we're talking about like potential re-traumatization, and then I mean that's a lot. That's a lot. Yeah. And again, I'm talking about maybe even counseling a person that is traumatized, also being traumatized by the counseling I'm giving, because I'm hearing their story, especially as someone that feels a lot. Yeah, I don't know. A whole month? Oh, wow. That's hard work. Just want to do it right through me.
Yeah, because if I didn't do that, I won't be on this podcast with you today.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's hard work, man.
It changed my life. Yeah. It changed my life. Yeah. It changed how I see myself. It changed what I think about myself. It changed how I see the world. It helped me understand people, helped me to understand myself. I would do it over and over again if I ever get there, which I hope I don't, but I became a different person because I wasn't good with the idea. I wasn't excited about the idea. So I was just like, whatever. If this is the only way I can get the break and do what I have to do, I would just like join online and do all the things. Like, I was like, I found another job. I'll just do it while the way the time. I don't care, This is that opportunity for me to find something else to do. Wow. So I remember the first day I joined the call, I had another laptop and I was already like applying to jobs on the side. I'm telling you, that was my behavior for like 3 days. And then I started going in every day in person.
In person? Sorry. Wow.
Yeah.
Hello, listeners again. I need to pause here and be honest with you before we continue. What you just heard was Temi's words. We just reconstructed it. Midway through our conversation, our AI note taker dropped out of the session and took the first half of the recording with it. So what you're going to hear right now is the rest of Temi's words. Without it being, interrupted or being recruited by assistant, right? Now let's continue on. Okay, yeah.
We're good?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah.
We're good?
Yeah.
I started going there every day. I started listening. You know, as a Nigerian woman, we talk about mental health, right? But I didn't even know what perfectionism was until then. I started learning about self-compassion, self-kindness, radical self-acceptance. I started reading books and uncovering things about my mental health. I found Brené Brown. I don't know if you know Brené Brown.
Oh,
Brené Brown is
yeah.
the shame and vulnerable researcher.
Yeah, the road, braving the wilderness, and then yeah. On empathy and sympathy. Yeah. There's one of our books I did for a book club. I don't remember it now. Yeah.
I read a lot of her books. I found Kristen Neff, who is a self-compassionate researcher. Like that period, again, the person that I became after those 3 months more led me to this journey of putting myself first, because I didn't know what that meant before. And I will always thank that therapist for putting me on a path that made me realize that I don't have to always feel terrible, because I thought it was normal to feel the way that I always felt. I was constantly in my head. I was constantly beating myself up. I don't think I loved myself. I did not love myself. Okay? So that's when, and to answer your question specifically, I know I've taken you on a journey.
No, but still, but
that was the time. That was exactly when it happened. When I had hit rock bottom, I was ready to give up. I was having suicidal thoughts. It was really bad. I was in a really, really bad place. And I don't want to tie just to that lady who was like toxic.
Yeah. But
I think it was all the
combination
years and years of just not dealing with all the things I had gone through. I had moved 4-5 times by myself. I had lived alone. You know, I went through the divorce by myself. I was already in the US, you know. Kind of like, because I'm a strong woman. Everybody knows Temi is very strong. Like my friends will tell you, Temi is one of the strongest women I know. I didn't know what it meant to just get in touch with myself and love who I am. I didn't like myself. So that time it happened, and like the mental health breakdown happened. I went through this intensive 3 months. And to answer your question, it was 9 to 5, I think 9 to 4 for 7 weeks. And then after 7 weeks, you go 3 times a week from 9 to 1.
Was it in person?
It was it. You had the choice to do it online, but I chose to do it in person
because otherwise you get distracted.
The value I was getting. I think every adult, you don't have to have a mental breakdown. Every adult should go through that.
You call it intensive therapy. Was it EMDR? What were you guys doing? Not just
CBT,
behavioral therapy. Yeah,
therapy.
Yeah.
And they take you through the basics, everything you need to learn about yourself. And then, so they will talk about a range of topics. So in the morning from 9 to 1, we'll have a therapist come in, share tools, tips, resources, all of that. And then from 1 to 4, it was kind of like sharing. Everybody gets to share, and then you get feedback from your peers and you get feedback from the therapist. So, and you had a choice to share or not. It wasn't mandatory. Like, so there's some people that were there for 3 months and never shared. But I saw the value in sharing, especially when you're doing it with, they're kind of like strangers.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. There's a kindness with talking to strangers. They don't really know you. So you can share whatever you want to share, and that defines the relationship from then on.
Absolutely. So that's when it happened, 2022. And I've been on a journey since then.
Wow. I mean, it's so beautiful to hear that, Temi. I can't even imagine the amount of work you had to put into it. I mean, as a pharmacist, I still always talk about take your meds if you need to be on meds. But people don't understand just how much therapy is more difficult than taking meds. You can pop a pill and get on your day, but to open yourself over and over in therapy, and the way you did it intensively, my goodness. Wow. I hope that our listeners get two things out of this. One is the short-term disability. 90 days is not only when you break your head or leg, like I thought. You can take it for mental health. And so whatever that looks like. And I don't know everyone has the luxury of driving or maybe, but take that time if you need so. And then secondly will be therapy is good. Hoping that you get the right therapist. Think of it like dating. The first guy you go out with or the first guy might not be grand until you find the right person. So there could be a chance maybe your therapist isn't so good. Find the next therapist. But all that said, there's utility in mental health therapy, and we hope you seek that permission for yourself. Thank you. So after all of that, right? 3 months of intensive therapy, you divorced, a rock bottom, you survived. Something shifted enough that you bought a ticket to Vietnam. Now, was that a plan, or were you just going on inshallah and good vibes?
Oh my darling, it can never be inshallah good vibes, because while I love myself and I'm on this self-love journey, I'm still very type A, and I still one of the things we're talking about before we started recording was opening yourself to the possibilities and surrendering to the universe. I'm very much a Christian. I believe in God. I also believe in mental health tools that have helped me. And one of those things is surrendering to the universe and opening yourself up to the possibilities. And that's not something I've always done. I've always had to plan my life. I've always had to do things a certain way. Ask me the question one more time.
Why Vietnam? What happened after all of that? The divorce, the intensive therapy. Why Vietnam? What cascade of events led to? You know what? I'm gonna take a gap year and go to Vietnam.
Yeah. So I did all that work, and you can't be my friend and we won't have a mental health discussion of some sort. I don't know if that has made my friends love me more, hate me. I don't even know. But
I'm sure they love you.
We can have a conversation, and we're not talking about the impacts. One of the things, even when I'm talking to people and they say stuff like my anxiety, how to make sure that you don't personalize it, those things that happen. And the place I learned that was in intensive therapy, and from the tips and tricks that they taught us, and the fact that I even went a step further and I started reading books. One of my favorite podcasts, even though I haven't really been listening to her recently, is Mel Robbins. I listen to her quite a bit. I used to. Recently, I haven't. I think I mentioned Brené Brown as well. Anything that has to do with mental health, catch me there. I've been learning about myself. I haven't talked about this as much, so it's my brain is
take your time. You're doing fantastic. You're doing fantastic. As comfortably as you can. You don't have to share anything you don't want to share, okay? As comfortably as you can. So just take your time. But you're doing wonderful, by the way.
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So it took me on a journey of starting to put myself first. It sounds so simple to say that, but for a Nigerian woman with the background that I've described, we are not socialized to put ourselves first.
It's counterculture, selfish.
Very, very counterculture. You put every other person first. You come last.
You don't even come last. There's no you in the rotation.
Absolutely. It's your siblings. You have to be a good sister. You have to be a good daughter. You have to be a good wife. You have to be a good mother. And then maybe with 2% of your energy left, focus on yourself. So having to relearn those things, or actually not even learn as an adult, what does it mean for Temi to put herself first? You've done all these things. You've worked in multinational companies. You've grown in the corporate ladder. You've grown your career. I went from Nigeria. I went to the US. I started my career all over, and I caught up with my peers. Crazy. For you to be able to do that, it requires so much energy and so much of putting yourself behind and just like focusing on all the other things that will make your parents proud and make other people proud. And so I started asking myself, what will make Temi proud? And this mental health journey became so important to me because I realized that I was looking at life through rose-tinted glasses. And then I finally took them off and I started to see things very clearly. That the expectations that other people had for me were not really the expectations I had of myself when I dug deep. And so I started small. I started pole dancing. It was my therapist that said, find a hobby. And I was like, I don't know what. And then somebody in that session mentioned, that she goes to pole. I'm like, pole dancing? Oh, my mother would die if she hears I'm pole dancing.
No, shower.
Exactly.
I took mine first time this year. My goodness, I'm going to go back. Yeah, there's something just riveting about it. You're never the same. You see yourself in a different way. It's so intimate.
I was like, okay, let me just try it. One class. Maybe I won't love it. Maybe it's not my thing. Culturally, that's such a weird thing to do. So I went, with trepidation and a little bit of fear in my heart. Okay, let me try it. And I fell in love.
Wow.
Because when you find a hobby where for 1 hour you're not thinking about anything else, it's you, your mind, your body, and the activity. You know what it means to be mindful?
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever, I have a daily meditation practice, and when I get into what is called the flow state, when I'm meditating, nothing else matters. It's just me and my mind and my body in sync. That's what I was feeling when I went to pole dancing.
Wow.
Nothing else mattered. And for someone whose mind is always running a mile a minute, that was like a safe haven for me. Girl, I was going almost every day after that.
Wow.
I was addicted, because I'm just like that feeling of oneness with your body.
With your body, yes. And you have to be so mindful because any small move, you could break your bones or break your head. So it forces you to focus on it. And also the moves are and you need a lot of upper body strength too. We forgot about that. It's not just sensual, it's also, physically demanding.
I wasn't even going for the sexual because it's pole fitness. So I got stronger. I started falling in love with my body more. My mind just when I entered, my mind's like, this is your safe space. When your nervous system is just
calms down, yeah.
My shoulder will come down, my smile will be larger. And it was a beautiful community of people who just wanted to better themselves. So I started with that. And then I stumbled on solo travel more. My friend and and I've talked about this a little bit on social, my friend and I were supposed to take a trip together to Puerto Rico, and 3 to 4 days before she canceled. And I was like, I'm going to go. And so I went. And it was 5 days of exploring, experiencing, and I'm like, this is bliss. Just me, myself. I'm not working. I'm not navigating. Where are we going with somebody else? I'm in charge of my own time.
What are we gonna eat?
Where are we going? And since then, I've been to maybe 12 or 13 countries solo, or maybe 14. I don't have my list with me, but I started solo traveling as well, and then other things, making sure I surrounded myself with people who uplifted me. I had to drop some people along the way. People I just held on to because we had history.
Familiarity, yeah.
Because when you start loving yourself, you start realizing that some people that you surrounded yourself with are not the right people for you at that time in your life. So I started doing those little things. I put boundaries at work. Hey, God, I beg. I remember during COVID, I was working like a dog. My ex he'll go to his job in the morning, he'll leave. When he leaves, I'm at my desk. When he comes back at 8 p.m., 9 p.m., I'm still there. I was working like a dog. So I started to build boundaries. I said, the things that make me feel better and make me feel whole and make me feel like I'm not living my life for other people, exercise, meditation. And so I had to incorporate it into my work life. And that meant I had to have boundaries. Like for me, it was important to get 8 hours of sleep. It was important for me not to be on my phone 1 hour before I go to bed and 1 hour after I wake up. So with all these things in place, it meant that work had to be deprioritized a little bit. And so I put all these boundaries in place. So it was just those little things, little acts of self-love that got me to a point where I was like, all these little things are nice and I'm starting to feel better. But I still feel like there's so much work that I have to do, or I don't have to, I want to do. And I was going to become a US citizen, thanks to my ex-husband. So that's why I don't regret that marriage. And I was like, I've experienced solo travel. I love it. How about I just take some time for myself and just for my mental health? And while I'm on the mental health journey, travel. So that's how I got to get to Vietnam.
Oh, so much to unpack from there. But, I mean, you've done a lot of work on yourself. And the dividends is what we see right now. A well-grounded Temi that wasn't scared to explore intensive therapy, fall in love with pole dancing, setting boundaries at work, right? Now, for my next question, let me preface it by saying, we know from statistics that 1/3 of people taking gap years today are over 30, right? And culturally, we know that as Nigerians and Africans, especially in the diaspora, living is never simple. There's always a community watching, a family interpreting, a cultural assignment meaning to your choices, right? What did people around you make of this decision? Because this came shortly after your divorce, I imagine. And how much did their voices affect you? Like people say, well, cut them off. But I feel if we have family members, it's not quite easy to just cut them off. Like we need to be still mindful that for a lot of us in Africa, it's not quite as easy as the Westerners make it. So like, just cut them off. They're toxic. It's not quite easy. It's quite complicated, right? How was that like for you?
So divorce happened in 2021. Gap year happened in 2025. So between 2021 and 2025, I had taken so many solo trips. Like I had gone to Peru for a month. I remember when I got to Peru and I was talking to my mom. She said, Kilolo shame Peru.
What you gonna do in Peru? Do you know? Yeah, I'm doing the interpretation for you.
Who are not Nigerians or Yorubas. She's like, who do you know in Peru? What are you doing there? And I absolutely I didn't know anybody in Peru. And
you tell your mom that?
I absolutely, because I got an apartment in the heart of Miraflores. It was such a wonderful experience, Mo. And I think it was those little things again that got me here, because I experienced them and I'm like, wow, I learned how to surf. So my daily life in Peru for that 1 month was, I think I had to start work at 2 p.m. to be in, I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, the time zone matching,
Time zone, I think the time zone was matching. It was Colombia that was different. I've been to a number of countries, or not too many, but a few countries where I had to work. And so I think, there was a co-working space. So I was there for 1 month. So I worked for 2 weeks and then I took 2 weeks off to just explore. So my first 2 weeks I was working. I would go to the co-working space in the morning, work until I had to go off, and then I'll go explore. just all kinds of things. And when I was in Peru, I went to Cusco, I lived in Miraflores, and I went to Huacachina. It was amazing. I went with a group at that time. I was not yet confident enough. So I was by myself.
But you just went tours,
but I went with a group, you know. But they're not they don't do it anymore. It's called remote air, where they help people plan trips. So you could be with them for 1 month or 12 months. So I chose to do 1 month. So I did that in Peru. The year after, I went to Colombia.
Wow. Cartagena or where?
I'm sorry?
Cartagena or where?
Medellin and Bogota. I went to learn Spanish. So mi español es poquito más Spanish.
Yo aprendiendo español en Duolingo.
Yo aprendo español, yeah. So I did all these little like experiments just to see how I would feel about just being by myself and traveling and doing all these things. And so I was like, I want to do that on a larger scale. When I told my mom, and I didn't tell anybody at first, it actually took me like 10 minutes to decide. I was waiting for my interview to get my US passport. I hadn't even gotten the passport, but I was waiting to get interviewed. And I was like, wow, US passport, global citizen, wow. And because I had done all these trips, I already had like a frame of reference on how I felt when I was on those trips and how I was able to do things on my own and explore and just get in touch with myself. I was like, I can go anywhere in the world. I don't need a visa. I mean, a few countries I need a visa, but it's so much easier.
Yeah, compared to a Nigerian passport.
Right. And I was like, wow, Tim, you've been doing a lot of work and you're starting to feel better. You're starting to love yourself more. Your self-doubt has reduced drastically. You are lighter. You're more joyful. You're like, even people started telling me that, wow, like you're so different. Like people around me will tell me, I'm like, what can you do with this passport for yourself? And I'm like, I can actually take a break from corporates and just travel for my mental health.
Whoa.
And that was it. I decided and I didn't tell anyone. It was after I started to put plans into place to actually make it happen the first person I told was my mom. Hey!
Before called me back home quickly.
Oh, fair shaking. You want to do what? I had a good job, I had a nice apartment, a house, I was getting ready to buy a house. She knew all these plans. But the thing is, because I started living for myself, I love my mom. My mom is my rock. She's everything to me. But I had spent maybe 3 years working on being who I wanted to be.
Yeah, rather than the expectation of others, yeah.
That I didn't let her fear. Because at that point, I had decided. I wasn't asking for permission. Prior to that, my whole life I had been asking, like, I would not make a decision without checking with at least 3 people or 4 people. But that decision, the decision that led me here, the only person that knew about it was Temi. I didn't ask anybody. I was informing them about my decision. So I started with my mom. I said, I've decided I'm going to leave America, go to Vietnam. Till tomorrow, she said Taiwan, China, Thailand. Because I'm traveling a lot, so she's like, where are you now?
We can't keep track of you anymore. Yeah.
I didn't one.
Wow. And I want to say that I can imagine there was years of just the work you've put in, like, the therapy, the boundary setting, that I just realized that I don't need permission. If I'm even informing you, it's more of a FYI, not for you to like help me deciding. And that takes a lot of growth. And I think it's also freeing to hear that as a Nigerian woman, knowing just how much cultural expectations keep us, grounded in place. Not like grounded in a positive way, but almost like tied down. And the moment you snap out of it, it's so freeing. And we're not saying you should go out there and be living like someone that is not cultured or, but living your life for yourself. Because at the end of the day, it's your life. You know, it's your life. Yeah, we have good culture to like help us stay grounded, but sometimes they've been weaponized to keep women, just sheltered in place, like out of a place of fear. So thanks for being very open and vulnerable with that. But I really want to know though, Vietnam, of all places in the world, why Vietnam? And what did you find there that you weren't expecting?
The decision was just to explore Asia. I'm like, where is the farthest place that, if I want to take a break, I can't get too easily because, I was just like, I had done a little bit of South America, done a little bit of Europe. I hadn't done Asia. I'm like, okay, so if I want to take a break for 1 year or two, where can I go that is really far? Do it so that when I come back and I'm traveling, I can get to the other places easier. So it was Asia. So it just started with Asia as a whole. And then I was like, okay, where in Asia can I go to? And then I had a friend who had lived in Japan. So I reached out to her. I'm like, but by the time I looked into Japan was looking really expensive.
Yeah.
And I just needed a base because I'm not the type of traveler that will go from one country to the other. I'll get burnt out. So I needed a base. So when I do 2-3 countries, I come back, I rest for a few weeks.
Yeah.
And then I
go back again. Oh, nice.
So I went on YouTube. Can you imagine YouTube? That's how I chose Vietnam.
Wow.
YouTube.
Wow.
I went on YouTube and I considered Korea, but the guy I had found on YouTube was not responsive. That's the only reason I didn't come to Korea.
Because I young has your neighbors, right? Oh, wow.
And then I found this group called Ninja Teacher, because I also knew that I just didn't want to travel. I wanted to teach English as well when I'm not traveling. Yeah. So I found Ninja Teacher on YouTube. And I reached out to them and they made the experience so seamless. And so I reached out to them maybe in 2020, beginning of 2024. I didn't end up in Vietnam till October 2025. So you see, there was
the gap. Yeah. It takes a lot of planning.
And then I had to have a surgery in between as well, which is another thing that I've talked about. I've suffered from fibroids.
You mentioned about
20 something. So I was supposed to move in January or February, but I needed to have a surgery. So obviously the surgery happened and I was like, okay. So Vietnam was just because I found a place that was affordable in terms of housing, food, and it was a good base for me to explore all of Asia.
That place.
That was it. It wasn't like I had any spiritual or any tie to
awakening. Okay. I think the last question from this category of questions would be something that that's been coming to my fore again and again since I moved to Korea temporarily is this idea of the self you meet when the familiar is stripped away, right? So who did you meet when you got to Vietnam and there was nobody who knew your story? Who was the Temi you met there?
Who was the Temi that I met in Vietnam?
Yeah, when nobody knew your story,
That's a really good question. I'm going to have to think on it for like 2 seconds.
Take your time.
The Temi that I met in Vietnam was, I always said to myself, because the people around me, my mom, everybody is like, every time I would tell someone about it, they'll be like, why? Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to quit your amazing job and go off to Asia and do what? Like, you can afford to do these trips, Like, they made me sound like a unicorn because culturally, Nigerian women don't do that. We don't even do gap years. A gap year is a very Western.
I mean, we get gap years when you don't get jump scores to get into, but it's not something we want to do. That's the only gap year we get.
You get gap year and go to mommy's shop.
That's it to work. Yeah, that's not a gap year. Yeah.
I remember I had that 1 year too, but I was following my mom to her shop every day. So it's culturally, it's not something we do. So I think that seeped into my subconscious as well, where I started to feel like a unicorn as well. Because honestly, I didn't think it was such a strange thing to do when I was planning it. But the more I shared with people, the more the feedback I was getting was, oh my God. So when I got here, I felt very daring. Daring is the word that's coming to my mind. I felt like a trailblazer. And I'm still working through that, but it's almost like because I'm doing something that is so foreign to Nigerian women, I want to share why I'm doing it. Again, one of the discussions we had before we started recording was asking you like career versus hobby, creating content and all of that. I'm still working through that personally, where while I'm doing this for myself, first and foremost for myself, one side of me wants to create impact, inspire people, which I know I'm doing from the DMs that I'm receiving on a daily basis. But it's that juxtaposition of doing this for myself versus creating impact and what that means. And it's been 6 months and I'm still working through that. So the person that I've met is someone who knows she's doing something very different from the average Nigerian woman because of the way we've been brought up, but also wants to create impact and inspire people to put themselves first, whatever that means for them. Doesn't mean quitting your job and going to Vietnam. It can be saying no. It can be putting up a boundary. It can be choosing not to be a wife, choosing not to be a mother. It can be anything, whatever that means for you. And so that's the person that I've become here in Vietnam, doing this for myself, but also wanting to create impact in lives of other people.
That is so beautiful. And I mean, your whole life is just a testimony of what happens when we get to the other side of recovery, right? But haven't put in the work. And thanks for modeling what that looks like. Yeah, there'll be a lot of sacrifices you will lose along the way. Like you talked about having to cut out some friendships, dim the inner dialogue and also cut out a lot of the external noise. And there's a cost to that because that's the familiarity. It's the cultural, templates we've been given. To go a little bit against that grain, it feels like denying yourself of something that you're familiar with. But beyond that is growth. There's a whole new world. So I hope women, especially African women listening to this, you tap into Temi's story. I've always lived my life like a radical. Like I mean, my family members, they know me. Sometimes they don't even know what to do with me. I mean, always vocal about wanting to do things my own way. And I think at this point, they've just given up. If I say I'm moving to the moon tomorrow, they'll be like, okay, just go. Because the mother will say you still go. But I'm glad that I have someone like Temi just being vocal about that. So you can know that there are many people quite like us. We're not like unicorns. Like you'll be surprised that there are many women now rising to the occasion. But I also like to give kudos to our parents who, with whatever they had, especially our moms, our grandparents, our grandmoms, their sacrifice paved the way for us. If we didn't see the lives they lived, good and bad, we won't be where we are today. And I feel like even for our progenies, they'll see that. So I also want to say, I don't believe when people say we didn't inherit the science of our parents. No, I think that's a very wrong saying. Like, our parents modeled what they knew for us. The onus is on us to take it the next step and live our own lives, So kudos to you, and thank you so much for modeling that. Now, I want to ask a little bit because I'm curious to know something you said earlier on. And feel free to redirect me anyway. So we've talked about the breaking point, the workplace therapy, the rock bottom. But I want to go back to something that was already happening before all of that, because it's about your divorce. Like, it didn't happen in Connecticut during COVID. It started much earlier. I imagine maybe quietly, privately. And you said something, you said you married your best friend. You were good friends, not just good partners. And I think that there's a particular kind of grief in that distinction. If you leave someone who was abusive or toxic, there's a way, I left, right? When did you know the difference, and how long did it take for you to say it out loud?
So, let's see. I haven't shared this broadly. Like the people who are like familiar with me, my friends, actually, let me say, I haven't shared this online, and I'm happy to share it now.
Okay.
The reason my ex-husband and I broke up is because we didn't have a sexual relationship. Yes. And for reasons best known to the parties involved, it happened that way. And so because I didn't want us to have sex before we got married. And so after we got married, I noticed that it wasn't happening at the level that you would expect. And so very quickly, like 3 months in, I started asking questions. I'm not going to share the responses that I got for just to keep that. Yeah. But that was the reason. And unfortunately, sex is very important, especially as someone who, before I got married, I wasn't a virgin, but I didn't want to just have sex, which is why I said, I'm going to marry you. Like, we can't wait now. We don't have to do it immediately. We can't wait. And we only courted for like 7 months, but we have been friends for 12 years.
Wow.
Right? We have been friends for a long time before we got married. And so I said, this is someone who is my friend. We don't need to have a long courtship. So let's do it. That was when you look at the pie chart, that was the biggest issue. There were other things, that fell apart after we got married. But for me, that was the biggest thing, because I remember my mom saying, Mama, she'll be getting angry now. Why you're not giving her what she needs as a woman? So what she's not even supposed to be getting angry about, she'll get angry about it. So that is what happened. And it was 3 months after we had gotten married that it became obvious. It took 3 months. I'll tell you, it took 3 months because I had fibroids and I had heavy bleeding, really heavy bleeding. So I used to think, it was the bleeding that was causing issues, but I now started paying attention. When I'm not bleeding, we'll be fighting. When I'm bleeding, we'll be best friends. What is happening here? And the reason I can share this now is because he's now remarried. He has a child. So he has an opportunity to deny this. So I'm happy to share it broadly. Because, if anybody goes to check, but he's married, he has a child, so maybe you're the problem. So maybe I was the problem. So very quickly, I started trying to fix things. Let's go see this person. Let's do this. Let's do that. But it seemed like I was the only one trying to fix anything. And, very quickly, like a year in, I had asked for a divorce, and he's like, no, let's try to work through things. Let's, things will get better. And it didn't. So I became I was just so unhappy with the situation. I'm like, I didn't wait this long. Like I said, I was 31 when I got married. I didn't wait this long to now be in a relationship where sex is an issue, like of all things to be an issue. I'm not even fighting about other things. This is the problem. And so I held on for another year and a half, and it just came to head, and we're like, yeah, it's not working. Let's go our separate ways.
That must have been tough because, in our neck of the woods, we don't just marry somebody randomly, right? It's family. And if you say 12 years, that's like almost like a childhood bestie right there. So losing that friendship, losing that family ties, losing that familiarity, I'm so sorry you went through that. The biggest
part for me was because I had been, I don't take failure very well. Now I do. Like, I'm excited about failure because that means I'm learning something. At that time, it was like, I'm failing at marriage. And I remember my mom said to me, she's like, if you want this to work, you make it work because I know how important success is to you.
Yeah.
But I remember saying back to her, like, I can't control somebody else. There's two people now in the equation.
It's not just you anymore. It's not the former Igbenidian student going to Akoka to exit a business admin. Yeah.
Exactly. There's someone else involved. And so again, I already realized 3 months in, we lasted almost over 2 years. Do you understand? So that was, 2 years of trying to, I'm not going to say I was perfect. I got
I mean, who
angry a lot of
is? Who is? I mean,
times.
yeah. We're going
I
through a lot
was,
too. Your health issues. Yeah,
yeah.
girl. Thank
I
you.
remember the day I clocked it. I'm like, wow, when I'm not bleeding, why are we always fighting?
Mm,
But when I'm bleeding, you'll be, you're my, you're everything to me. I'm like, so in my own type A way, I started tracking it.
Oh, wow. And you know that as women, like, when you're on those downtimes, you're kind of like, okay, this person's being tender. You're saving that, okay, maybe when I'm off this cycle, then all of those goodies will extend even much better. Because we're
And I asked
very
him directly. He had his own reasons. Again, I will not share them. Maybe I'll share them in the future when I've talked about this a couple more times.
Take your time.
But,
if you ever decide to share them or not, yeah. I mean,
So it's just.
Thank you for sharing something that you haven't shared public before, for even trusting this space with it, and for even being able to hold your own story with this much clarity and honestly, Grace. And I want to also say that it's indicative of someone who's sat in intensive therapy 5 days a week and come out on the other side to be able to hold complexity without necessarily needing a villain in your story. So thank you for that. Now, I also want to name something because you mentioned it almost in passing, the fibroids, and you've been very vocal about it, even on your Instagram page. The heavy bleeding, which, actually brings me to the next question I want to go next. Because you've been open about this, about your body, multiple fibroid surgeries, and you also talked about alopecia as well. And I think for so many women, especially Black Nigerian women, our bodies become the very first place we think to show up with the same compassion we're trying to extend to everyone else. Now, let's talk about just, one of the things we've talked about in this show is, our agency and our bodies as women. And my listeners, if they've been following me for as long, I've had bouts of endometriosis, ovarian surgeries for the cysts, not my cysts. I don't have them anymore. I've had multiple surgeries for that. Now, what has that been like for you, and how long did it take for someone to actually listen to you, if you had those experiences as well, where you were just gaslit for so long?
I remember the first time I found out that I had fibroids. I remember I was like yesterday, I had gone to a hospital in Ikeja. I don't remember the name, thankfully, or the doctor's name, thankfully, because I have selective amnesia. But I remember how I felt. Because this man told me I had fibroids, like he was telling me I had a headache.
Ugh.
Like he was so dismissive. And maybe to him, because it's such a prevalent
commonplace, yeah. It's like the flu in Nigeria.
Right.
Find me a woman that doesn't have fibroid in Nigeria.
Exactly. But it was the first time I was hearing that about myself. Yeah. So it was... There was zero compassion in the telling of the issue. Because he was like, yes, you have fibroids. You have about 10. Yes, we have to remove it.
Just like that?
Literally, just like that. The way I just said it.
Mr. Sir, Dr. Sir.
I didn't even know what fibroids were at the time. But I just knew I had been bleeding and bleeding and bleeding and bleeding and bleeding.
Now, how old were you, by the way?
I was 25.
Oh, no.
25. Yeah. I remember, yeah. And so between 25 and, to my most recent surgery, which was January 2025, I'd done 3 surgeries. I've done 3. First, all 3 were in the US. I remember the first one, my mom, oh my God, I had just gone to see if I could get some pills or whatever, because I had read you can get some pills or get some injections, and I was hoping the doctor would just give me something to drink and I'll be fine. And she's like, no, we need to have a surgery. And I'd gone to the US for holiday, and I kept it to the last few days of my holiday because I didn't want it to affect my entire holiday. And he's like, you need to have a surgery. I remember my mom having to sell her gold to be able to pay for the first surgery because I didn't have insurance.
Because that's not cheap.
No, it cost about $9,000 my first surgery because I lived in Nigeria. I didn't have any insurance, so paying out of pocket was like $9,000, and I had to pay like the next 2 days after. So my mom was like, okay, I'm at a go with you. And that's how we paid for the first surgery. But it turned out that surgery, the surgeon he didn't do a good job. So the bleeding didn't let up. If anything, it got worse. So
that's $9,000.
Right, my darling. It's like that's why when I have any small change, the first person I send money to is my mother. Like my mom has been so.
God bless you. God bless your mother.
My mom is just like, I know everybody says their mom is the best, but honestly, my mom is like, she's like everything. Yeah. So that was the first one. And then I did the second one, and this was much better. And between the first one and second one was about maybe another 4 years, because imagine doing a surgery and it not working out. But the second one I was already in the US. This was actually right after my divorce or right after my separation. So you can imagine, and this was during COVID. Yeah.
Oh no. So who took care of you?
I took care of myself because I was strong. No. I took care of myself.
The bowel movement after the ambulation, girl.
See,
I've had many of these stories, so I know what I'm talking about. Even the drive back home, you need someone to check you. Girl.
I did have a couple friends who were able to visit me. Oh, again, because it was during COVID. It was surgery, July 2020, I believe. So, and the thing is, they weren't doing elective surgeries at that time. Mine wasn't considered an elective surgery because of how bad I was bleeding.
Yeah, and I imagine your iron levels were bad too.
My third surgery, I did iron infusion for a week before I did the third surgery.
Dang it.
Yeah. As I say it, I've seen all of this with a smile, but it has been hard. I have been through a lot. And that is why it was so important for me to spend time healing my mind.
By yourself, yeah.
Healing my mind. And that's what this journey is about. It's about healing my body and healing my mind. So second surgery was between the first one and the second one.
5 minutes, yeah.
In between, I had taken all kinds of birth control. They put me on Lupron. I don't know if you know anything about it.
I hate that. Are you kidding me? I've been on it. I was running stop signs. I was having bone pain. I started doing vinyasa yoga. I was swimming a lot. Like I told my friends, I've seen the future. Menopause is looking dark, yo. My vagina was dry. I've talked about my experience with lupus. That drug is from hell.
Girl, I'm so sorry you went through that, but I'm right there with you.
I'm so sorry you went through that as well. But Lupron does nothing. It just freezes you. Once you're off it, because they do the depot, right? You do it for like a month or 3 months. By the time it's watering down, you know that it's time for the next dose. Your body just starts going into crazy mode again.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, girl. I'm so sorry.
And you know what is crazy? I was still bleeding through Lupron.
True Lupron?
Yes! And I told my doctor, I said, I'm having all these symptoms like you did just described. I'm having these crazy ass symptoms, hot flashes.
And I'm still bleeding.
I'm having hot flashes. Why am I having hot flashes? And I'm still bleeding. Oh yeah. I think it's time for another surgery. So I did, and again, it was my mom. Gosh, nobody could come. My mom couldn't come. I had a friend who was able to pick me up from the hospital and take me back home. She came once or twice. I had a few friends, 6 feet apart. You're in my apartment, but you're wearing a mask and sitting on the other side of so sometimes my friends just come drop food and stuff like that. Like I felt really loved during that period, but it was love from a distance. Like people would send me food, people would send me flowers, like my friends were checking on me daily, but I was alone. My ex even came to see me. Like he came, we walked around, all of that. But it was a really trying time. And then the third time I did a surgery was in January 2025. This one.
Last year?
Last year. Yeah. Last year, January 2025.
Girl.
Because fibroids, they grow back, unfortunately.
Yeah. The vacuum, they just, abort it, just, girl.
Yeah, you're the scientist here, so you understand it even way better than I do. And so that has been my journey. And again, my body has gone through a lot.
How are you doing today? How am I doing today?
Yeah. I'm fine. I'm good. I am. I'm really thankful because there was no way I was going to come to Vietnam and be bleeding like that.
Right.
Not because the thing is, when you take it out, you're good for like 4 or 5 years. And now I have taken it a step further. I've changed my diet because
good. Yeah.
Fibroids doesn't like gluten. I have a gluten-free diet. I don't eat any dairy anymore. So like some of the things I feel like I may have benefited from doing earlier on that I didn't do, I am now doing them. I guess with age comes
more maturity. Yeah.
So that has really helped.
I mean, it's funny how we can be in different parts of the world but have similar experiences. And I'm so sorry for everything you've gone through. For women's health, particularly Black women's health, having culturally competent care, man, it's like finding a unicorn at the back of a city motel. Like it's non-existent in some places. For me, it took finally, because every year I was going through like 2 surgeries. Like laparoscopies, I open my stomach for next, I connect the dots. Like I have so much punctures for that stupid Da Vinci robots they always use. Like I've had surgeries where they wheel me in and wheel me out because they couldn't see anything. And they weren't taking it. My last doctor in the US told me, we can't do surgery anymore. It's a risk. Imagine your doctor telling you they can't take it. I mean, when you're still in pain, you're having frozen pelvis. I had to go back to Nigeria, girl. I had to find a crude doctor. When I mean crude, like the methods he used on me, I don't think if he published it, I think he'll be arrested. I'm telling you, but he was trained in the UK. We reached out to some friends, but this was January 2020. That was my last surgery. And since then, by God's grace, I've never had to have any kind of gynecological surgery. It fixed them. Like the way, like in the US, I feel like they were being so conservative, but it was every time we go in, easily copay plus everything, 3,000, 4,000.
Yeah.
Come back again next market day.
And this is with insurance, right?
Yeah. With good insurance.
Yeah.
I was a state employee, so I had good insurance. Easily, you look at when they send the itemized bill, 100,000, 100,000. My body doesn't feel like I've gone through anything that is 100,000. I had to go back to that, and I say that I always keep saying that, like, keep knocking on doors wherever your salvation lies. If it's back home or wherever it is, women, please don't stop. It is not normal to go through pain. It's not normal to go through heavy bleeding every month. Keep knocking on those doors until you find your answer. For me, I had to go back to Nigeria. For you, it can be something else, but keep knocking on those doors. Don't let any doctor gaslight you to thinking it's normal or making it. And when those methods start failing, they start making it like it's your problem.
Yeah. And I think one thing you should add as well is the importance of your lifestyle.
Oh, yes, that's so true. That is so true.
Yes,
the things you eat. Yep.
What you eat, what you wear, your body,
yes,
matters. Like now, I only wear linen. I only wear cotton and linen.
Wow.
And the reason I did that was because I went to see a lifestyle practitioner. Because I'm like, this is crazy. I can't be spending all this time working on my mental health, daily meditation practices. I am exercising all the time. I am doing all these things. I'm putting up all these boundaries. Why am I still tired all the time? So she did a test, and if I found out that I have a gluten intolerance, I shouldn't eat dairy. There were some toxins in my body. So all of these things just came at the point where I was like, I need time for myself. I need time to heal my body and just take time for myself. So it was just kind of like, it was validating for me that this gap year was what I needed. just for myself, just to rediscover who I am and give my body just a break.
That's a good point. Lifestyle changes. I haven't heard of women. I've not used relaxer in my hair now for more than a decade, but there's been a lot of links to hormone disruptions from like relaxers and even attachments and all that. So all that to say again, yes, and thanks for that reminder. You have to make some adjustments because the food you eat and things we're exposed to actually contributes a lot because things we're exposed to consistently, right?
Yes.
So that's a good one. And
even the lotion that we use, like,
that's
just
so true. That's so true.
I've changed everything. I only use clean skincare now. I'm still navigating what that means. Thank God for AI. I just take a picture of like, is there any toxin in this?
Wow.
So I've cleaned my entire skincare products. I don't eat gluten. I don't eat dairy. I only wear cotton. I only wear linen. I'm trying to stop drinking water from plastics because fibroids love plastics.
Yeah.
Like all of these things. It's a lot of work, but like every time I go out now, I've never gotten as many compliments as I get recently about my skin. Like,
girl, you're glowing, yeah. By the way, even in your videos, it shows, yeah.
So it means that it's working. Unfortunately, I've had to do 3 surgeries to get there, but better late than never.
Yeah. I think and thanks for sharing all of that. I think the summary from this part is that for women, fibroids affect an estimated 70 to 80%, by the time we turn 50, and Black women are disproportionately affected. So again, please always keep your health in check, do your yearly checkups, right? And you've also been vocal about your struggle with alopecia, right? And hair loss for a woman, especially a Black woman, especially a Nigerian woman, carries a weight that goes so far beyond the physical. We're talking about something that touches our identity, beauty standards, how we're seen, how we see ourselves. What has that journey been like, and what has it taught you about the relationship between how we look and how we love ourselves? Because you've talked about loving yourself and doing all this work. What has that been like for you?
Oh my God, my favorite topic. I always tell people I'm the unofficial head of marketing for alopecia.
Hey, no pun intended. I see what you did there.
Exactly. I discovered I had alopecia when I was 15.
What?
Yeah. So, as I'm saying all these things back to you, I'm like, wow, damn, girl, you have been through a lot.
15 in Nigeria? Wow. Wow.
I remember one of my classmates asking me if I had cancer.
Oh.
Nothing on her, but...
I know, but still.
Yeah, you see your friend who had a full head of hair last summer and you come back from summer holiday and it's falling off. Like, sis, what's happening to your hair? Do you have cancer? Even me, I was not sure if I had cancer. But it's definitely been a journey. My mom has been in that, like, she has been fighting the alopecia journey with me since I turned 15. We saw multiple specialists in the US, in the UK, and in Nigeria. But really, all of these things are tied back to, and I feel like I want to bring all of it together.
Yeah.
Fibroids, alopecia, body aches, they're all autoimmune issues. And I think I did a video recently where I listened to a podcast with this lifestyle doctor who is the reason I went to see a lifestyle practitioner, where she linked fibroids, some autoimmune issues like lupus, alopecia, all of that. Everything is linked together. For women, it's all autoimmune issues, and you can fix that with your diet, with lifestyle changes. So alopecia started when I was 15, fibroids when I was 25, so I didn't realize there was a link between those two things until last year.
And the timing, so the 10-year gap in between, how would you have known?
Exactly. But, these things just have a way of like showing up in your body eventually, even as you age and all of that. So navigating alopecia has been very interesting because I hid it for so long. I think when I started making my own money, like I wouldn't go to salons anymore, because every time I go to a salon, one woman has one agbo that will help me with my hair.
Oh God.
Yeah, they always have recommendations. So I was just like, enough of all that external noise. I would have the stylist come home to fix my hair for me. You know, obviously it costs a lot more, but I was just like, for my sanity,
mental health, yeah.
For my sanity, please come home and do it for me. And obviously I was also hiding it because I wasn't confident. But I realized that when I started working on my mental health, it helped me to become confident in who I am. And also with all these things that I started doing, solo traveling, pole dancing, I was building self-confidence. And I got confident to the point where I said, I want to own who I am as a person. And I am someone who doesn't have any hair. Why am I hiding it? I'm hiding a part of my identity. I'm hiding a part of who I am. And I just thought I was living a lie. And I wanted to stop living a lie. And so one day I just decided that I was going to come out into the world and just show the world who I am. And girl, I am saving money. I'm not buying naira wigs.
I know. I'll do into wigs. I look at the price. Human wig, like from who? Thousands of dollars. Like I've never been a wig person. Never.
700,000. Actually, the last wig I bought was $700.
What?
Yeah, because as you grow your career and you're making a little more money, you start seeing things and you're like, oh, this looks nice, $700, and I bought that. Yeah, I remember the last wig I bought was $700. So now I think I have only just one wig with me, and I have even one. Then the reason I have it with me is because my sister forced me. She's like, you don't know, you
never know. Maybe like it. Yeah, I mean, and it's like a special day. You just want to switch things up a little bit, but that's a choice.
Yeah, I haven't. It's still the way she packaged it for me when I was living in Nigeria that is still here with me.
Yeah.
And it has definitely been a journey. And I actually really like it because it's a great conversation starter.
Yeah.
And I love talking to strangers, and because they want to know more about it, I get to engage with people. It's part of my brand. Every time I have to wear a wig, I'm very uncomfortable.
And your glasses and your smile, everything just fits. Like, and you're so stylish, by the way.
Thank you.
If I didn't watch your video on your experience with alopecia and all that, I'd have just thought this was just your aesthetics, because you wear it so well,
Thank you.
Yeah. But I still don't want to minimize the struggles. I can imagine it's been a lot going into that.
Yeah. Again, kudos, shout out to my mom.
Yeah, shout out to her. Do you want to say something to her? I hope she gets to listen to it. I'm going to pause and just, drop her a love note. Please.
Yes. Hey, Mom. Thank you. Like, this conversation with Mo has made me, not that I haven't realized it, but it's just a great reminder that you've been with me through all the tough times, through everything. And as an adult who is almost 40 years old, just realizing that even when you were going through your own struggles, you took the time to make sure that I felt confident and safe in who I am as a person, and you supported me. Not all the time. I think some of my choices you don't love, but eventually you come around. I just want to say thank you, because I am who I am because of you. I'm who I am because of how you've modeled strength, how you've modeled courage. And I want to say thank you because I love my life now, and only because you are my mom. I love you. Thank you for everything.
I'm not going to say anything to that. That was so beautiful. And thank you so much, Mommy. Thank you. And if you go to Temi's Instagram page, her mom is just all over it. Even when she's the only one in there. There was one that just made me cackle. Like, my mates are giving their moms grandbabies and I'm giving her anxiety. And then you're just cool. But I'm like, Mama, your Nigerian mom is going on the mountain top praying and fasting. And you're the weapon fashion against her.
I swear. I
Um,
realize I talk about my mom quite a bit because
it's
even
beautiful.
when she doesn't agree with the
It's
choices, like she
beautiful.
doesn't love that I'm
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
She doesn't love that I'm not married. She doesn't
yeah,
love that I don't have kids.
yeah.
But she'll call me and pray for me
Mm,
and just tell me that whatever it is that I desire for myself, God will do it. But I don't want you to be alone, my daughter. You deserve. And I say, Mommy, I am loved. Because first and foremost, I love myself.
yeah,
I didn't love myself before. But now that I love myself,
yeah, yeah.
that's the biggest thing for me.
And that tension, I don't even know what the word, I don't think what word is tension, but that mother-daughter dynamic, it's so normal. It's because that is love. That's how they express love. They want you to feel settled. They want you to have the family and the kids, and for them, that's you being settled. But for you, it's like, for now, this is what I want to explore. And you always have that tension back and forth. But underneath it's love. You knowing that, she loves you for who you are, and you're also accepting yourself and accepting that you might never see eye to eye, but that you're still, in constant communication. And I feel like it's so healthy. We don't always have to agree with our parents, but I think the older we get, the more they come to realize that, okay, this person's an individual now, right? And it's beautiful. This is just our realities as Africans, which is why we can't say, well, cut off from your mom, that's her being toxic. No, it's not. We understand them, they will probably say things to us that make us go, huh? But that's love, I don't know. Yeah, but I understand it. And I thank you for sharing that. Okay, I need to let you go. And I feel like, but I still need to bring you back. Now, before you go, two things I want to ask. You've walked us through a lot today. The therapies, the surgeries, the boundaries, the pole dancing, the passports, the fibroids, Vietnam, all of it adds up to a woman who has done the work. And I think what our listeners want to know now is this. What does a woman who has done all of that work do next? Because I feel like for you, Vietnam is not the ending. It's just a chapter. And I feel like there's a lot more being written. So tell us, what is next for Temi Oseni? What are you building? Or maybe deliberately not planning? Because as someone who has planned your life, you're probably like, let the universe take me there. What does it feel like the next step is going to look like for you?
For the first time in my life, I can confidently say I have no idea.
Perfect.
I have no idea. And I'll tell you for a fact, Mo, that is scary. It is I don't want to sugarcoat it for people, who is going to listen to me. I'm like, oh my God, this woman is strong. I want to do exactly what she's doing. You need to have a certain level of strength to do this. It is scary because I am wading so much in the unknown, and I've never had to do that in my entire life. The last 6 months, I've actively tried not to plan what is next. It's a daily action, daily reminder, like, Temi, just be present. Enjoy this moment. You're having wonderful experiences, and I think I owe you some more pictures. I've gone to 11 countries in the last 6 months.
To be a record for when you're breaking as a Nigerian woman.
I've gone to amazing places. I've had amazing conversations. I've eaten amazing food. I've cried in awe of things I'm experiencing. I have been stunned. I've seen things. I've been living a wonderful life this last 6 months for myself. But one part of me is like, okay, when you finish, what's next? And I am living in that discomfort because it's so different from who I've been. And I feel like my life has been in chapters. This is a chapter of my life that I think that my mind and my body needs. But one thing I am sure of more is that it has always worked out. So it will work out. And the difference now is that I'm doing it with less pressure. And I am surrendering myself to all the things that I've learned, that I've been reading about. When it says surrender, I was like, God, I want to do that. And this is part of me surrendering. I'm surrendering to God because I know He loves me and He has ordained my steps. Everything that has led me here, I think I've planned it, but no, it's God. It's God that has led me here. All the other worrying I've done is for myself. right? And I want to see what the journey life will take me on when I worry less. And so I'm excited for that. I don't know what it is, but I'd love to have another conversation with you in a year and say,
yeah,
this is it.
We can do that. We can definitely do that. And I think it's something scarily beautiful about what you just shared about not knowing. I'd probably be panicking like you, but given that you've done a lot of work as well, like, all the therapies and all that, that you'll be fine.
Yes.
Because 5 years ago, you probably didn't think that you're going to be here.
No.
And look at all the things you've been able to do. The constant things that Temi is going to be there. Because Temi has done the work. Temi is not scared of ghosts. Like, she's been there. She's done all the work. There's nothing anymore. And maybe it's also freeing, knowing that you don't have to plan your life that is exhausting. That is exhausting. I just want to say thank you, though. Thank you.
Can I add one more thing?
Oh, sure. Of course. Add 2, 3, whatever you want to add. Yes.
I think I've never trusted myself before, and now I do. And I think telling myself that I always do exactly what I say I would do, and seeing that I'm doing it has helped me to build trust in myself. And because I trust myself to take care of myself in the future, why do I have to worry? So, and that is not something that came naturally to me. I had to learn how to trust myself. So the combination of trusting myself and trusting God, I know that I'm going to be okay.
I think the next time we need to explore where that lack of trust for yourself, because what you've told me so far, if anything, I'm trying to think about where does the lack of trust of yourself come from, but we can save that for like a cliffhanger for next time. But thank you, though. I don't even know where to. I feel like thank you doesn't even quite cut it. But every single thing you gave this space today, thank you so much. Because we started with just talking about travels, and then we went deep into therapy and then your life and, all of the moving parts and the solid parts and everything that is Temi today. But then the past Temi, because everything came along to feature in the Temi we're seeing now, right? Mm-hmm. And for our listeners, I want to leave you with a few things she said that I haven't stopped thinking about. She said, and I have to go through the transcript to say, but I'll just paraphrase, like, we're not socialized as women, Nigerian, to put ourselves first. Like, we have our siblings, our parents, and being a good sister, a good daughter, wife, mother, and then maybe, she said, 2% of your energy left focus on yourself. And after all of it, alopecia at 15, fibroids at 25, 3 surgeries, Lupron, a divorce during COVID in a 2-bedroom apartment in Connecticut. And I don't know if you've been to Connecticut. It's not quite the raving place. A breakdown so severe, she lost 6 hours of her own day, 5 days a week of intensive therapy, where she sat down with strangers for the first time and told them the truth. And then pole dancing in Puerto Rico alone, and then Peru for a month, and then Colombia for Spanish lessons, and then Vietnam. And all of that, when I asked her what comes next, and she said this with just that look of, I don't know, for the first time in my life, I can confidently say I had no idea. And then she smiled. And that right there is a whole episode. A woman who has spent her life planning, performing, improving, and sitting in Vietnam, 11 countries, deep in 6 months, crying in awe of things she's experienced, good food, great conversations, and finally choosing not to know what comes next. And I feel this is the crux of this episode, that this is not the ending, it's just the beginning. Before we get wrapped up, Temi said something to her mom, and I want to leave you with it. She said, Mom, I'm loved, right? Because first and foremost, I love myself. I didn't love myself before now, but now I love myself, and that's the biggest thing for me. And I think that love comes from the strength you've shown me. You've shown me that despite you going through your stuff, the strength you have, that has modeled love for me. So shout out to every mom, especially Temi's mom, who stayed. Even when they didn't understand the choices we make as kids. Even when you don't even go, you're not on Instagram, but maybe when somebody shows you our videos, your heart goes, hey, Kilele, what is this? Even when you were worried, even when you were praying from a distance, maybe going to the mountaintop, that love, imperfect, complicated, fiercely present, It matters. We know it. We see it. We know that there's somebody praying for us. It's why we can go and do bungee jumping in a jungle somewhere in Mexico. Thank you. So find Temi, please, with Temi. We're going to put her link, Temi, on TikTok and Instagram. Follow her. Please share this episode with someone who's still at their 2%, right? Leave us a review whenever you listen, because it genuinely means the world. And if you or someone you know is struggling, please call or text, 988. And there's so many resources linked. We'll put that in the show notes. But more importantly, if you're in the US, we know this, because Temi has mentioned that short-term disability covers mental health as well. 3 months. Until next time, this is season 9 of the Sibyl podcast. Please keep putting yourself first. This is your sign, Nigerian women, Black women. Take that break, okay? Keep it coming. I will see you in the next episode. Temi, Kamsamida, thank you so much. This has been wonderful. Just wonderful.
I don't have the words. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We'll see you next time. I mean, I know you're going to come back. You're going to do that masterclass on, on so many things. But we'll bring you back. And if you're lower, thanks for making this episode happen.